Our NHS staff are exhausted, morale is low, staff absence is said to be double its normal level, leave for many is cancelled, and this time there is no evening applause on our streets, just long, dark, hard nights for our NHS staff. The Nightingales were opened at great expense and fanfare, but now we hear that some of them, such as London's, have been emptied. Will they be used? And if so, given the staff shortages we know that there are across the NHS, how will they be staffed? There are reports today that only 1 in 8 retired NHS staff, just 5,000 out of an eligible 30,000 who applied, have been brought back to help. Shouldn't we be making full use of this resource, especially to help with vaccination? Because we're in a crisis now. Mass vaccination needs to start straight away. We need to go hell for leather to get these jabs rolled out with no delay. We've already lost more than 600 healthcare workers to this horrific virus, including a disproportionate number of Black, Asian, minority ethnic staff. Frontline NHS staff need the protection of the vaccine ASAP. Will he set a clear target for when all NHS frontline staff will receive the life-saving jab? And can he tell us when all care home residents and staff will be vaccinated? And he will recall that I raised with him the situation facing those with terminal illness. Can you clarify what the JCVI's guidance is for that group today? This is a race against time, because the more the virus circulates, the more opportunities it has for further variants to emerge. The new B117 variant is 56% more transmissible. It's the dominant strain in London, the south east and the east of England. The nerve tag minutes from 18th of December suggest it could add at least 0.4 to the R. Given the first lockdown brought R to about 0.6 and the second lockdown to about 0.8, this surely means it will be harder to bring infections under control, and so harder measures will be needed. So will he publish in real time the advice he is receiving from SAGE on the restrictions needed? This is a global crisis, but let us be clear, this is a national emergency. Our National Health Service is becoming overwhelmed. I hope the Tier 4 restrictions are enough, but many believe even tougher restrictions are now inevitable. Does he agree? We need not to put more lives in jeopardy when vaccines are so near. Let's give the achievements of our scientists the best chance to save lives. The country has sacrificed so much in 2020. Let's not repeat the same mistakes. We must start 2021 by doing everything it takes right now to save lives and support our NHS. Only then can we look forward with confidence.
Don't press it yet. You've pressed it. Oh my God. Sorry, that's just me on the Christmas cheer. I do hope you've all had a jolly good Christmas. In spite of Chalkir Westminster, who are now, as we've just seen, wanting to vaccinate you all. Everybody, get you. We're having you. We've got millions and millions and millions of them. Enough to do you all with too. That's coming up, by the way. So that's Labour's view on what should be done right this minute, just before New Year, in relation to how they can best torture the animals once again, which is not good at all. I'm not liking it, and so we have to make this video. So there we are. A new strain. Ooh, I can't see it. Has anybody seen it? This new strain? What does it look like? What colour is it? Has it got glasses on? What kind of tie does it wear? I'll give us an insight into what kind of mind it is, you know what I'm saying? Is it a bit of a terror hawk? Is it a survivalist? Is it a bit of a snoopy bugger? Or is it just another fantasy like we've been having since January? Answers on a postcard to QE2. Okay, why not? Should be. That's where it's all going on, people. That's where it's all going on. So, yeah. Interesting, though, I will just add. The Queen's speech Very interesting when you put it against the original and first Queen's Speech televised live. Country! Check it out yourselves, chaps. I'll probably put it together as a video later, but just check it out. Get the first one and then look at the last one. And we can see the contradiction and thus treason in action. Can you believe it? Anyway, so we can see now there's 30,000 retired health workers whom the government intend to scoop up to vaccinate. Why are my eyes not looking at the same? Where's the camera on here? It's gone a bit weird. I'm not getting it. Camera's gone funny. Anyway, so he wants 30,000 of you back. It sounds like a jolly good exercise because you think, well, we've got to vaccinate all them animals. The vets. We've to become vets. And now you deal with all the animals with this prick that we've shown you pictures, we've shown you videos of us injecting all these nursing staff. When the needle retracts and they're not pushing anything in. Now that's how thick they think you are, that they can get away with that. And I suppose for most of them out there, especially if they've had a bit of jollies, they're going to suck into that, aren't they? They're going to go, oh my God, you know. Yeah. I mean, it's just a nightmare in a scenario brewing for 2021. So that's it. They want all the health workers in because, of course, they desperately need the protection of the vaccination. This guy said, desperately. They're desperate for it. Well, that's a bit interesting. I mean, I had a comment on one of my videos maybe a month ago from a concerned husband whose wife had just jacked in after 22 years as being an anaesthetist. Did you hear me say that right? It's not easy to do when you've had a bit of a taxi, I'll tell you that. So, she resigned. Said, get out of here. I'm not doing it. Why was that the case? Well, because about 3 weeks ago, they were all told that they'll all be vaccinated by the end of December. What? So if you're a nurse, or a doc, or a carer, you know, this is what they're trying to do. They're going to stick you with his jab. And then, of course, he's excited because he wants to know what the commanding level is saying has to be done with the elderly, those who are about to die, or classed as on terminal. So basically, if you go into any patient care system today and you're over 70, you're already on death row. It's just a matter of time. Not until you've run out of money. Once you've stopped, when there's no money they can take off your estate to fund you in the care home, that's when malfunction happens with everything they've been doing before. Or so they say. It's not actually malfunction, it's the correct function because now it's time for you to go. They need the bed for another hapless victim whose estate they can rob by as much as they can before you pop your clogs. So we're waiting on J something and something that's now the almighty commander of merry old England and the public and Scotland and you Welsh down there still trying to kick it, and of course those Irish nutters who are now being flooded and are becoming a base for the UN and NATO and of course the UN Army. So we're ready into some groovy stuff. And of course, this guy's made it clear. We're in a national emergency. Shock horror. No, very important phrase that. National emergency means all bets are off. We make it up as we go along. That's what it means. These joking heads at Childcare Westminster are giving themselves all the powers in the world to make it up as we go along. Especially so because in the last 12 months, they've got away with it. They can't believe it, how amazing they are at getting this in your door. Well, it's the television, of course. Television. The virus from the television. An electronic virus. Never heard of one of them before, have we? No, we haven't, eh? So they call it nanobots in order to attack the real virus, which is electronic signals passing through your eyeballs and your earlugs and creating a fantasy script even better than Disney has ever put out. You know? Well, we know Disney's a bit perverted and they do own Pornhub. It is a bit twisted, really, when you think about it. You know, all them young girls that were brought up in Disney as children, as lovely little creatures, a prime example of how a girl should want to be. And then when they get to 13, they turn them into whores. What are you putting for your bags at home and going, what? What's happened to that fairy princess? She's become a slut. What's going on, Mum? And Mum goes, because of course Dad's not there, listening. So Mum goes, yes, darling, we all have to now worship these freaks because they're celebrities. And if they're celebrities, it means Simon Cowell has given them the thumbs up because he likes them. And he's giving you the thumbs up to be a celebrity. But you've got to cease with all that nonsense of being a lovely little girl, sugar and spice, and you have to turn yourself into a depraved whore. That's the game, chicks. So that goes on. So TikTok. Then they're all on TikTok showing you what they've learned. So, happy jollies. So, anyway, there we can see. Labour want it all. They want more and more and more and more. Because they don't think tier 4 is enough. They want harder, faster, quicker lockdowns. Huh? Interesting. Now we've found some interesting things over this lovely season in relation to what the hell they're playing at. And more importantly, is what is the Crown playing at? Because it is the Crown that is now fully in control of all this shit. Yep. This dog shite that's being spread all over the television because you're only concerned about the dog shit on the pavement. You remember that? You know, if somebody dares let the dog poo and they don't bag it, World War VI. World War VI, the entire residents out in battle mode wanting to kill the dog. Oh, actually, no, they don't want to kill the dog because they do love dogs. They want to kill the owner. That's the mentality now. While the real shit, with a big pile of horse shit in it as well, is spread amongst you through the television and the media. Okay. So there we have it, folks. Vaccination. Desperate national emergency. National emergency, of course, means they make it up as go along. Military, you know, get a grip. You've had your jollies now over Christmas. I've left you alone. I've thought, well, I'll leave them all alone. I bet you've missed me. But I thought, no, we'll leave them alone. Let them have a jolly Christmas. And I've had a jolly Christmas. A very jolly Christmas indeed, actually. It's been very nice and lovely. And we've had snow. So, a proper Christmas. So, there we go. So that's it. Now it's back to graft because the new year's coming and they're already starting to cause havoc at childcare Westminster and spreading it everywhere as usual. So there we go. So now let's have a look at what the respondent child, I think he was just come out of the remedials and they moved him up into the C band. This, I think we're about April. So now we've Mr. C band childcare pupil is about to speak and tell you exactly what you're going to get. So, Matt the Cock, take it away.
From the beginning, we've focused on the vaccine as a way out of this pandemic, and now it is a reality. We need to vaccinate as quickly as supply allows, following the necessary safety checks, of course, and the NHS stands ready to accelerate deployment at scale from Monday, the 4th of January. We have a total of 100 million doses on order, which combined with the Pfizer vaccine is enough to vaccinate every adult in the UK with both doses. And we will of course vaccinate according to the JCVI priority, but today's news means that everyone who wants one can get a vaccine. We already have 530,000 doses available to the UK from Monday, with millions due from AstraZeneca by the beginning of February. Mr. Speaker, the clinical advice is that the Oxford vaccine is best deployed as 2 doses up to 12 weeks apart. And the great news is people get protection after the first dose. This means we can accelerate the speed at which we can vaccinate people for the first 12 weeks before we return to deliver the second doses for that longer term protection. It brings forward the day on which we can lift the restrictions that no one in this House wants to see any longer than are absolutely necessary. But, Mr. Speaker, we must act to suppress the virus now, not least because the new variant makes the time between now and then even more difficult. And so, whilst we have the good news of the vaccine today, we also have to take some difficult decisions. The NHS is under very significant pressure. There are over 21,000 people in hospital with coronavirus right now, and we can see the impact that this is having. The threat to life from this virus is real, and the pressures on the NHS are real too. I want to put on the record my thanks to all those working right now in the NHS, and in particular those, including our Chief Medical Officer, who've been working selflessly on the wards over Christmas. They deserve our thanks and gratitude and support, and we owe it to them to fulfil our responsibility to keep the virus under control. Sharply rising cases and the hospitalisations that follow demonstrate the need to act where the virus is spreading. And you'll have seen, Mr. Speaker, that yesterday alone 53,135 new cases were registered, the majority of which are believed to be the new variant. Unfortunately, this new variant is now spreading across most of England, and cases are doubling fast. It is therefore necessary to apply Tier 4 measures to a wider area, including the remaining parts of the South East, as well as large parts of the Midlands, the North West, the North East and the South West. And I've laid a comprehensive list in the library of the House and published on gov.uk. Even in most areas not moving into Tier 4, cases are rising too, and it's therefore necessary to apply Tier 3 measures more broadly too, including in Liverpool and North Yorkshire. The rest of Yorkshire remains in Tier 3. These changes will take effect from 1 minute past midnight tomorrow morning. The new variant means that 3/4 of the population are now going to be in Tier 4, and almost all of the country in Tiers 3 and 4. And I know that Tiers 3 and 4 measures place a significant burden on people, and especially on businesses affected. But I'm afraid it's absolutely necessary because of the number of cases that we've seen. But where we're still able to give places greater freedoms, we will continue to do so. Mr. Speaker, today is a day really of mixed emotions. The joy that we have in the vaccine giving us a route out of this pandemic, the pride that Britain is the first country in the world once again to approve this British vaccine, the sorrow at the deaths and the suffering that the virus has caused, and of determination that we must all stick at it during the difficult winter weeks ahead. We end 2020 still with great challenges, but also with great hope and confidence that in 2021 we have a brighter future ahead. And I commend this statement to the
So
House.
there you have it. Britain's the first, fantastic, the greatest, the winners. No, they're not the winners at all. And British, it was never made in Britain, it was made in England. There's a distinction. You know, this British vaccine isn't an English vaccine. Okay, it's not ours. It's not yours. It's going to wreck you. So there we go. Matt Hancock, they're hell-bent now on absolutely vaccinating as many people as they can. The health workers first, those in the care homes, and the carers in the care homes, and those that do the caring in their own homes. They're the target for this. Now they're saying that the schools are going to be shut. The secondary schools are going to be shut for 2 weeks. The primaries, it just says temporary. Now that's worrying to me that the primary schools are given the temporary, because we do know that last year the army was brought in to set up rapid testing teams to go into the schools. Now it will be a bit worrying for them to try it on the seniors at secondary school because they're awake. But to start moving these testing centre teams into primary school, there's a very good chance you're not going to find out about it. So that's one to keep your eyes out, and it looks to me from what they've said that they're going to hit the primaries first. So, as we suggested before Christmas, that people reckon with themselves and start to recognise that you are the only person now safe to be responsible for your offspring. Okay, no institution out there, formerly known as the civil system, is to be trusted with your offspring's care. Okay, so that's an immediate point of note that needs to be addressed by everybody that's got children at school. Okay, so what I want to do now is we're going to go back to May the 30th, 2020, and what probably was missed by a lot, and this is from The Spectator, was a report and titled "The Way COVID Deaths Are Being Counted is a National Scandal." So this is back in May, remember. So this is Pathology, and he's explaining quite in depth the importance of pathology when it comes to understanding pandemics and such. So basically what he's saying is, in order to understand what's actually going on, you need to be hands-on with anybody who's claimed to have died of whatever the condition is. That way, you measure any changes. You can project forward into possible events it's going to take, paths it's going to take, just by having complete and utter access to autopsies. Consistent, and these are by independent pathologists. This is how it works. So these are independent people. And of course, as we know, that's not the case with this nonsense going on today, because the last thing they want is a real medical expert looking at any bodies that have had the dreaded lurgy stamped on the death certificate. So he's going into how important it is that these guys are involved in understanding the condition that's supposedly running rife everywhere. Now, as we all know, it's invisible. It's invisible to everybody. You know, it's a perfect enemy, is this. It's more perfect than the terrorists that they threw at you after 9/11. It's absolutely superb. It's an invisible, non-existent enemy that you can't see, feel. You were dependent on the government to keep you safe. Well, that government's playing this game out completely. So he's going through and he's saying that autopsy, which means autoopsis, literally means seeing for oneself. So an autopsy is important because it means that this independent guy can see for himself exactly what went on. But he's he really wants to get across the fact that only by studying those said to have died from this condition, that are completely analysed in every way, shape or form, because as this progresses, by doing these autopsies to see, you can gather data on what's actually happening with the thing, what's happening with our immunity, etc. And clearly this is not the case. So further down the report, which I'll put under this video, he says, so at a time when accurate death statistics are more important than ever, the rules have been changed in ways that make them less reliable than ever. In what proportion of the lurgy mentions was the disease actually present? And in how many cases, if actually present, was it responsible for the death? Despite what you may have understood from the daily briefings, the shocking truth is that we just don't know. How many of these excess deaths during the epidemic are due to the bug, and how many are due to our societal responses of healthcare reorganisation? Because they are reorganising healthcare. So it's healthcare organised lockdown and social distancing. Again, we don't know. So what he's saying is, from not being able to give autopsies on these people that die, they can't even gain the evidence as to how lockdown's having an effect, how the social distancing is having an effect, etc. And so this is the changes in the healthcare that they're doing. So they're saying it's all in panic, they're putting loads of money in, but what they're actually doing is changing the whole ethos of it away from the health professionals and into the hands of these pseudo-scientists. Now, we've just published a full profile on Massachusetts Institute for Technology, MIT, because we've been banging on now for quite some time how most of this pseudoscience can be traced to be coming out of MIT, Media Labs, which is an MIT operation, but more importantly, that the whole raft of the scientific data and garbage that we're suffering now was not only introduced by Epstein, but was also financed by Epstein in MIT for the projects that were working in sync with coming to conclusions and creating this fake garbage that they're all running around claiming to be science. So I'll put that underneath this video as well. It's a very interesting look. But these people, MIT's into everything many, many years ago in readiness for this. So this is a long-winded plan. What is the plan? Why are they doing it? Very simple. They are about to change the way we exchange currency or money. Let's use the term money, because what this new system is an end to the old ways and forms of exchange. So that's coin, that's paper, gold, etc. They want to end that and put in a completely new one that's fully electronic. And they have to get you to consent to it before you realise what it is, what it actually is, and what it actually means. And the best way to do that is to create a huge diversion. And a medical scare emergency allows them to take full control because you're in fear, still trusting. So they've grabbed your attention, they're now forcing you new forms of behaviour to keep you off the real, what's really going on with this proposed reset that they're not yet ready for. And this is important that people understand this. Don't panic. You're panicking if you're listening to the nonsense, the fear, the virus from the TV. Okay, that's where you're panicking. When you start watching and listening to that, you can start to step back and see that these are stepping stone moves in order, A, to prepare the path so that they can enforce this new system when they get it in, and B, to have you ready in your own mindset to be totally and utterly controlled, so that when this system is put in, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So this is the diversion, the retraining, because they're not ready. They are not yet ready to move in this new system of exchange. All right. So it's not so much the currencies that they're going to change it to. They're going to get rid of all currencies and give you a new form of exchange, which will be fully electronic. So that's what they're actually doing. Yeah, they're bringing in the immigrants everywhere, able to keep the voting in the politics the way they want it because they've got control of the mosques, which we've explored in previous videos. We'll not go into detail there. This is creating a division between the natives of each nation and the immigrants. And again, you need super government to be in there dealing with managing this for you. So they're playing that against you. You know, when really the cause of all this is the government, because it's through the government that the doors have been opened. Yeah, that everybody's dancing to the United Nations garbage, which is banking garbage, in order they can install this system. So it's a diversion, it's changing your behaviour, and of course the biggest thing is you're not recognising also that you are walking blindfold to a mass slaughter. If not immediate in its actual culling of flesh and blood, but absolutely in the sense that it's going to prevent procreation, and thus would satisfy these policies they want for population reduction. And if you actually look at the data that's out there on Deagle.com and just put in your own country, it's quite terrifying the intentions that they've got going. So they clearly are intending to actually remove massive percentages of populations. Well, the only thing on the block at the moment that's going to do that is the vaccine. And also, don't forget that they can, at any point, release pathogens to further support this. They need this in. It's not going to stop on its own feet. It's going to have to be stopped in its tracks. Yeah, so, you know, this is what people need to be looking at now as we move into the new year. They've set this off now in between Christmas and New Year to set you off into the new year. They've locked us down again, although it's been accepted, but it's not classed as an original lockdown because they've now got it all managed up into tiers. And if you notice, they're using numbers now. It's a numbers game. We're into Kabbalah. We're into numerology, Kabbalah. And everything is being created by baffling you with numbers. Okay, as lockdown, what did they say? It affected the R by 0.6, the second one 0.8. So they're just using these silly nonsense figures. Now they've got this new strain that doesn't exist. See, how can you fight it? How can you, if you can't see it? You're struggling. It's a non-existent fantasy, exactly as the terrorists were. Al-Qaeda was always a database. Robin Cook told us this. Okay, it was a database. So if you see any kind of institution talking about Al-Qaeda like it's real, you're seeing propaganda there. You're seeing the script. So yeah. So this is where we're at, people. Division, diversion, behaviour change, and while they're at it, they want to kill as many of you as can, so that you don't see and realise exactly what it is that this reset entails, which is a completely new system of exchange. That's what you need to be looking at. You know, there will be no more currencies, because there'll be just only one way to exchange. And what is it you're exchanging? It's nothing. It's credits. You're being given piffle. Your estates are being taken off you and then leased back to you. And governing you will be your carbon credits. I've just been watching earlier a little glimpse of the royal lectures that are always on at the Christmas. They used to be excellent back in the day. All that were about was showing how many your carbon footprint is by cooking. Can you see where it's going? And the young ones are taking this on because they don't know any difference, because as parents you didn't give them any other grammar to focus to. You shoved them in front of telly and you give them telephones. You let them on the internet. They've learned all this crap because you ceased to teach your own children. You need to start doing that now. I chose to teach my children. You know, the choice was back in the 90s, do we homeschool? And I thought, no, well, we need our children to be amongst their peers. They need to grow up as that generation. I'm going to be teaching my children. My children will be influencing all of them around them. And it's borne fruit. It's to this day now, which we're 20 years on, it's worked a treat. So that's how you approach it. That's how I approached it. Teach your children, send them to school, and they can teach their peers. That's how it spreads, you know. All this social media censorship, all this locking you down is so that you can't discuss what's going on. That's the intention. That's why Adolf Hitler banned smoking, shut the pubs, so you couldn't congregate. You couldn't actually communicate what was actually your real thoughts. We used to do that on the grapevine. That's called social media has captured the grapevine. So not only is it pumping it all out through the media, it's also captured the grapevine through social media. Now it's censoring social media, so it's censoring the grapevine, because we've handed the grapevine over to them to censor, you know. So yeah, for the new year, I'm definitely looking at setting up systems whereby interested parties in the work that I'm bringing to the fore for you, interested parties, we can communicate in our own closed system. I won't collect any of your data, let alone pass it on. So that's my promise to you. There'll be absolutely zero information being collected by me or in any way shared by me. Okay, that's the kind of thing that I will offer, and I think it might be a way forward. So that really we're talking amongst interested parties, and it's sensible stuff, and we can keep the trolls and the imps out. By definition of the fact, they stand out a mile. So these are the things I'm looking at the moment. I found some interesting stuff over this Christmas in relation to what I believe they're doing and how they've done this. As I think I've mentioned it earlier, but that's going to be for a future video. But it is rather telling, and I think if I can present it in a manner that's understood by you guys that follow this channel, you will be able to put your efforts into practice, but more importantly, you'll be sending them to the correct office, okay, which is so important. I will say on that note, you know, take care now. We're out of Christmas. It's time to get your heads together, because you've got a bit of a lull because they're not they're expecting their children back at school. But you really need to start focusing on your offspring now and what could potentially be coming down the line if they get your primary school children back into school, while still claiming this super pandemic with now a new strain virus. See through it, people. We've got to start seeing through this nonsense, because it is nonsense, all right? And with that, I will say to you, I wish you all the best for the new year. Nothing's going to be easy, so I'm not going to say a happy new year, because I doubt it's going to be happy. But I think if we're all working together to shift against this, I did promise that we'd pump up with the grammar for people to work against this on their own 2 feet, and I have to say that is still it's still there. It's there. What I have achieved over this week by sounding off one of my colleagues is that everything that I've put forward so far is what most people end up coming back to when they're putting up the remedies. So I'm basically saying we've got the remedy. I just now need to formulate it in a manner that you guys can grasp because of its simplicity and shortness, basically. So that's where my mind is at the moment in relation to how I can improve my service to you and to the service of law. Okay, that is my intention here, is to service law, and I'm not being pulled by public opinion nor by policy, which is a principle of being and acting within law. Okay, so again, I wish you all the best for the new year. I may get a video up again before the New Year's Eve. So with that, I will say till the next time.